Someone buys their partner flowers every Friday, thoughtful ones. The kind that show they remembered a conversation from weeks ago. Their partner smiles, says thank you, puts them in water. And still, by Sunday, there's distance, the kind that doesn't come from a fight, the kind that just settles in. The person buying the flowers has no idea what they're missing. You've probably heard of the 5 love languages: acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, gifts. Gary Chapman introduced the framework in 1992, and it became one of the most referenced models in relationship advice, not just in pop psychology, but in actual couples counseling offices. Here's what most people don't know about it. The science, when researchers actually went looking for it, didn't really show up. Multiple studies over the past decade have tried to confirm the core claim that people have a dominant love language, and that relationships improve when partners speak the same one. The results have been, at best, inconsistent. A 2017 study out of Chapman University found that while people do prefer certain expressions of love, there wasn't strong evidence that matching those preferences predicted relationship satisfaction. A 2023 replication study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found something even more interesting. What predicted satisfaction wasn't matching languages, it was simply the effort itself. The attempt to show up, perceived partner responsiveness, the feeling that someone is trying. In other words, the flowers might matter less than the fact that someone remembered. The framework also has a quieter problem most people overlook. It treats love preferences like personality types, fixed, stable, almost innate. But research on attachment and emotional needs suggests they're far more fluid than that. What someone needs on a Tuesday when they're overwhelmed at work is not necessarily what they need on a Saturday morning when they feel close and secure. Context shifts what we're hungry for, and there's a finding that doesn't make it onto the Instagram infographic version of this idea. People are often poor judges of their own love language. When asked to self-report, many people choose what they wish they received more of, which is different from what actually makes them feel loved in practice. One study found that when researchers measured actual emotional responses rather than self-reports, the stated preference and the real-time response frequently didn't match. You might tell yourself you need words of affirmation, but when your partner silently clears your schedule, drives you to your appointment without being asked, and sits with you in the waiting room, that might be the moment that actually lands. None of this means the framework is useless. What it did well, what it still does well, is give people a starting vocabulary. Before it existed, a lot of couples didn't have a clean way to say I feel most loved without it feeling like a complaint or a demand. The language created a structure for that conversation, and that conversation matters. The problem is when the map gets mistaken for the territory. When someone decides their love language is quality time and uses that as a lens that filters everything, why they feel distant, why they feel close, why the relationship is struggling. Because that framing can become a box, it can also become an excuse. I'm a physical touch person, so of course I feel disconnected when you don't initiate, which may be partially true. But it outsources the whole question of what you're doing, what you're asking for directly, what you've actually communicated to your partner, without assuming they already knew. What the science does consistently support is simpler and harder to put on a quiz. Relationships tend to do better when people feel seen, when they believe their partner is genuinely paying attention to them as a person, not just executing a category of behavior. When they feel that someone is responsive not just to their pattern, but to this moment, this version of them, this specific thing they're carrying today. That's harder to systematize. It doesn't fit cleanly on a card, but it suggests something worth sitting with. The most useful version of this framework isn't about discovering your type and expecting others to match it. It's about getting more specific. Not, I need quality time, but last week, when you put your phone down and asked me what I was actually worried about, that mattered. That level of specificity does something a category can't do. It gives the other person real information. It makes the gap smaller. One small shift, if any of this resonates, instead of asking which love language fits you, try noticing the last 3 times you genuinely felt close to someone. What was actually happening? Not the category, the specific moment, what they said, what they did, what you were in the middle of. The pattern that emerges from that is probably more accurate than a quiz result. This video is meant for reflection and self-awareness. It's not professional relationship advice, and if you're navigating something genuinely difficult in a relationship, a therapist or counselor can offer something this kind of content can't. The flowers still matter, by the way. Just maybe not for the reason the model says.